Hi there, welcome back inside the Tier 4 studio here in Morgantown, West Virginia for the Charleston Gazette-Mail. I'm Mike Casaza. This is part 12 of the 2015 and 15 countdown, previewing West Virginia University's 2015 football season. If you've been hanging around, you know we hit offense on Wednesday, defense on Thursday. You also know Dana Holgerson plays with a three-sided football. That means we save the best for last in this little mini-series within the big series. We're going to talk about special teams today. Normally I might warn you to put on the earmuffs because quite often when you discuss West Virginia and special teams, you use and hear language that is far from flowery. I'm going to keep it PG today, but there are some things I can't help. Some of the numbers are a little bit horrifying. Consider this. The four major special teams, that's net punting, punt returns, kickoff return defense, and kickoff returns. At the end of each of the past three seasons, every one of those has ranked at least one time among the bottom 20 in the country. That's not good. That's part of the problem. The overarching issue with special teams for West Virginia is it's not reliable, it's not consistent. You can't just occur normally if you're a special teams unit for West Virginia. There's going to be some chaotic episode involved sooner rather than later. There's a certain dread that hangs over every punt, every kickoff return, anytime a football is in the air going from your foot or to your return man. But what's most confounding is that some of those special teams have been great. Consider this. Punt returns, bottom 5 nationally each of the past two seasons, but was number 28 in 2012. Kickoff returns, great last season. Mario Alford, extremely dangerous, number 16 in the country. But before that, that same side of the ball had been number 92 and number 112. Net punting was once terrific, ranked number 7 in the country, but it's also ranked number 72 and 110 in the past three seasons. And then nothing has been worse or more perplexing for West Virginia than kickoff return defense. Each of the past three seasons in between number 92 and 99 nationally. Only 4 teams in the country have finished 90 or worse the past three seasons: South Carolina, Louisville, and FAU. That's not bad company for recruiting rankings, but anytime you're with those numbers next to your name, it doesn't matter whose names are near you in those standings. You don't want to be that low in any statistical ranking. So that's the first thing we have to talk about today, because we're going to say a simple question for this group of coaches and players: what to do with West Virginia's special teams. The first thing, kickoff return defense has to get better. You're going to have a really good defense this season, and you want to help them out as much as you can. So you want to give offenses long fields to play with. 80 yards if you can, 75 will do, but you can't let kickoff return teams rip off 25, 35, 50-yard returns. Each of the past three seasons, West Virginia has allowed more than 22, sometimes more than 23 yards per return. Joe DeForest, one-time special teams coordinator who will still be involved, even though Mark Scott apparently has the role now, he has often said that he will let his starters on offense or defense start on one special teams unit and back up on another. You wonder if that changes this season, especially on kickoff return defense. If West Virginia has so many great starters on defense or top reserves, can they play more? Can they have an infusion of talent and capability on kickoff return defense? Now you wonder about injuries, but if your backups are so good, you never want to risk an injury to a starter. You don't want them overextending themselves on many special teams, but if you have great depth, maybe you can force that issue a little bit better. So West Virginia just has to tackle, has to scheme better special teams defense. Another thing, let Josh Lambert go. No one talks to him anyways, at least that's the joke, but he might wiggle one, he might shank one, he might get a kick block. I think he's proven it, especially with his performance last season, he'll be fine. So maybe he's not a guy to talk about, maybe he's not a guy to worry about. If there's a slump, if there's a small slide, it seems like he's going to be used quite often. You know he's going to be accurate. He's in his third season now as the kicker. That seems like a position you just don't worry about. Conversely, the punting has to be better. Nick O'Toole did not have a great season last year. He was not consistent. He at least had moments in the spring where you thought maybe it was better, and then you worried that things were going to be problematic again. He is their punter. There is no backup punter. There are names, but he's the guy who has to do it. In 2013, he showed he was very capable, and there were times last season where, again, he looked good, he didn't look as good. He seems serious about turning everything around, not only getting back to where he was, but making it better. And then punt returns. I'm going to say leave the punt returner alone, too. West Virginia does not have a punt returner right now. It might be K.J. Dillon, it might be William Crest, it might also be Jordan Thompson. Such is the angst about punt returners that whoever goes back there, you wonder, can he catch it? Can he make the return? Can he not screw up? That's not a lot to ask, right? But that is a lot to ask if you look at where it's been the past few years. But they don't have anybody who's terribly proven at the top. in Crest or Dillon, and they have Jordan Thompson behind them, I should say, who has worried fans in the past. But whoever goes back there, you're just going to have to close your eyes and trust them for a little bit and expect that they're going to be capable of doing what needs to be done. If they can just do what's asked of them, that's great. But if Thompson is the guy, for example, and the fans are worried, well, he's out there because he's the best option, and you're just going to have to let it work out, because if there's no one good enough to unseat him, and he's had issues before, you have to give him as many chances as possible. Similarly, if it's Dillon or Crest, and they're entirely new to the experience, you can't judge them on their first game, their first 2 games, their first 7 or 8 returns. You got to let them go. Now, if there are errors involved, if they're losing games, if they're just turning the ball over incessantly, then sure, you make changes. But patience, as odd as it seems, after so many years of struggles at that spot, seems like the best route. And then finally, kickoff returns, I would say enjoy, because Shelton Gibson has a chance to be dynamic. He is maybe the fastest player on the team, but he showed flashes not only running down the field, catching passes last season in the spring, but almost breaking, or even breaking some kickoff returns. He seems like he has a chance to really flash there, and if not, Wendell Smallwood is back there with them. Certainly has done it before, has been effective, could be more consistent, but then again, so could all the special teams units for West Virginia. That's it for this time. I'll see you next time. For the Charleston Gazette-Mail, I'm Mike Casaza.